want to get to where do you get your news?
The main wire. But
Ooh.
I will say, now I will say that, in our schools, in our elementary schools, our middle schools, even in high school, there is something that is shown to our kids called CNN 10. And it goes over the 10 top stories of the day or of the week or something. And I remember the first time my kids caught on to that, they came home and told me, like, hey, Mom, they're making us watch CNN at school. And I was like, oh, interesting. So,
No, that's going away. The Main Wire 10 is going to be rolled out very soon for those kids. All right, Janet.
Noted.
Disappointing Tuesday for you
Yeah,
and for
right.
all of us.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's not
This
over,
is
so it's
on
gone.
the Robinson
It's
Report.
okay. It's totally okay.
So when we posted
Now we
earlier,
kind of keep
this
using with
is
people. We're a basketball family in my
towards
house.
the end,
And so
about
I keep saying
a
that
little
was
over
the scrimmage,
3/4.
right? And then championship is in November.
About 50
so
minutes
it's
in.
all good. While Scott's up there in Augusta, rubbing elbows with Janet
Yes,
Mills,
you're welcome. Thank
30
you
plus
very
hours
much.
a week. I'm
Hi,
here in Lewiston,
how are
and I'm
you?
still doing a lot of work here in Lewiston.
That
And,
is
you know,
the one
there's been a
talking right
lot
now. That
being
is
said online. There's a
Janet
lot
Bodwin
of
discusses
questions
Lewiston,
about
weighs in
was there
on
any
Graham
fraudulent activity
Planter,
going on
and
with absentee
delivers an
ballots, and was there
absentee
any
ballot.
fraudulent, registering of, same day, like
You're
that
welcome.
sort of thing. And I just want
A little bit better, yeah, my voice. It's still kind of cracky, but doing better. If I don't project so much, what happens is when I read and stuff, I tend to project more. So if I keep it down, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the tone, that's the voice class we do, and you do do, re, mi, fa, and you feel it kind of using different muscles and hitting different chakra zones. Right, if you woo, you feel it up here, right? Where if you go, you feel it more down here. Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing. I like that class. Alright, so yesterday we had gotten page 402 and 403. In the book number 10, Scandinavian and Slavonic literature. Yeah, you're welcome. Alright. Tolstoy. So that whole chapter there. Yeah, we'll just post that chapter. I'm not going to read it out loud. You're welcome. What's that? Oh, yes, of course. Editorial note. I'll read the editorial note. Okay, and then the next section. Alright. I'm doing okay, thanks. It is a beautiful morning. You want to see the sky? It's about 6:16 here a.m. Yeah, we're having some black chai tea, a little bit of Nescafe, coconut milk, and agave. It's really good. Alright, editorial note. Dean Howells was able, not long before his death, to revise his essay on Tolstoy and to present editors, and the present editors have left it substantially unchanged. except for the omission of a few sentences which were necessarily discarded owing to the subsequent publication of fuller information of a biographical character about Tolstoy, and especially about the last years of his life. With the passing of the contemporary of Tolstoy's birth, the disputes as to his genius, his personality, and his opinions remain unresolved. Nearly all the persons connected with him have written copiously on his subject, but the problem is as great as on that last day in Astacavo, when his life was kept outside until the dying man passed into unconsciousness. Why was this? Why was it to avoid disturbing of the last moments of a saint, or because a group of people feared the outcome of a last interview between the man and his devoted wife? The question we can never answer. A suggestive analysis of Tolstoy's genius has been given by Count Kieserling in the Travel Diary of a Philosopher. I do not know a more profound presentation of human life than his epic on the Great French War, but I know that Tolstoy as an individual lacked all philosophical profundity, as in the case of most Russians and all other young and undifferentiated races. Tolstoy lacked the power of intensive abstraction, the capacity of summing up the particular in the general, which is another definition of profundity. On the other hand, he possessed the eagle eye of the savage. Now, if anyone protects appearances which he only beholds without understanding them, and does so perfectly, the thoughtful reader will inevitably regard the representation as possessing profundity. In fact, he will discover greater depth than he would do in really profounder poets, whose vision is less acute. That is an excellent summary. Tolstoy described life as few writers have ever done. He has given pictures of goodness and of evil, of heroes, and however strongly one may disagree with his philosophy and ethics, it is still open to question whether Tolstoy ever really expressed the ideals which he was trying to illustrate, even in those works of fiction which seemed most devoted to the maintenance of a definite moral thesis. His overflowing vitality dilemma confronts those who would judge his life and those who would judge his art, which appealed to the better instincts of a man, his wife, or his friend and disciple, Chertkov. Did the latter win Tolstoy away from his better self in the last years of his life, or was he only then learning the meaning of existence? Evidence there is for both positions. The same two tendencies, the artist's power and desire to present life, and the philosopher's urge to teach ethics, run through all the years of his literary work. The emphasis may change, but the problem presented by the last years of the age philosopher of Yasanya Polanya differs in degree and not in kind from that of the young and dashing Count, with his fondness for lively society interrupted by his intermittent moods of spiritual exhalation and dispersion. No one has yet answered satisfactorily the riddle of this strange dualism, and perhaps in this way's self-contradiction rests the real greatness of the man, the philosopher, and the artist. And then next is At Borodino, From War and Peace, copyright 1886 by William S. Gottsberger, reprinted by permission of George G. Peck, publisher. War and Peace is more than a novel. It is an attempt to paint a picture of the entire Neapolitan era, and reflected in Russia has against the background to paint the lives of a relatively large number of persons. Napoleonic, sure. Pierre Bezukhov, in whom Tolstoy has placed many of his own characteristics, has tried to answer the problem of life in various ways, but always without success. Now, on the eve of the Battle of Borodino, he has visited the army and, as a civilian spectator, sees the battle. When Pierre returned to Gorky after his visit to Prince Andrei, down to Gorky Park, yeah, when to change, exactly. Prince Andrei, he desired his servant to have his horses readily saddled, and to wake him at daybreak. There he went soundly to sleep in the corner that Boris had so obligingly offered him. When he woke, the cottage was empty, the little panes in the windows were trembling, and his man was shaking him to rouse him, shaking him to rouse him. "Excellency, Excellency," he shouted. "Why, what is the matter? It has begun?" "Listen to the cannonade," said the man, who was an old soldier. "They have all been gone a long time, even His Highness." Pierre hastily dressed and ran out. It was a brilliant, delicious morning. Dewdrops sparkled everywhere. The sun sent level rays through the curtain of cloud, and a shaft of light fell across the roof and through the hanging mist on a dusty road just moist with the new days. Just moist with the night dews. On the walls of the houses, the roughened wood palings, all the horses standing saddled at the door. The roar of cannon grew louder and louder. "Make haste, Count, if you want to be in time," shouted an aide-de-camp as he galloped past. Pierre on foot, his man leading the horses, and made his way by the road as far as the knoll from whence he had surveyed the field day before. The Mamelon was crowded with military. The staff officers could be heard talking French, and conspicuous among all the Costaveau's gray head under a white cap bound with red, his fat neck sunk, and his broad shoulders. He was studying the distance through a field glass. I lost that bit. Oh, you like this? You know, if I had designed it myself, this matching up anyways, I would have put the neon at the top of the gray as well, instead of having it end on gray. You think it looks better ending on the gray instead of the neon? Beggars can't really be choosers, I guess. Yeah, I really hope so. Yeah, the facts are the facts. Nothing's changed about that. That has been for years. We've been watching this show all around us, and people ignoring and getting gigs and writing books and doing investigations and getting the Karens and the non-vaxxers and the bullies. This has gone on for so long. We're dead mothers, literally, watching you from the great beyond, hoping that the proper authorities help these children. Yeah, we've seen these cases so many times, you're not gonna fucking tell us shit, dude. Yeah, until you fucking nasty cunts unpack your shit and get the fuck out of here. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Oh yeah, anyone listening, they're not going to, and they're going to continue to demand that they do something about us. They feel threatened by our presence. Get along, little doggies. For real. Pack your shit and get the fuck out of here. With what you've been doing in this community, you should be freaking giving your stuff away and running. Bye. Bye-bye. Take care now. Unfucking believable what you pigs have been doing here in Augusta, Maine. So hopefully the proper authorities do what they're supposed to do and help these children, aka hostages in the hands of Hamas. It's very plain to see. Cheers. You're welcome. We're gonna make some crepes. We're gonna use that yummy strawberry jelly we made. We're gonna use just a little bit of the jelly, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna warm it up with a little agave and some cinnamon and brown sugar, and we're gonna roll up the crepes, and we're gonna call it a chimichanga and call it a day. I hope so. Yeah, you're welcome. Look at the birdies. Oh, so pretty birds. So pretty birds.